Welcome to the PC tab tutorial for ScoreRunner. Each player should have their own tab. I strongly recommend you rename the tab after your character. If it's protected, you can ask the game master to do that for you. Some things to note: this is not an app, it's a spreadsheet pretending to be an app. So if you see a cell with a white background, that's something you're supposed to be able to edit. If you see something with any other color background, try not to edit it. It often will try to prevent you from editing it, but just in case, try not to do that. You can upload a profile picture here. Just follow these instructions. I strongly recommend, if you're going to do this or some of the more advanced features, that you do it on a regular computer, not on mobile. Key things about this tab is that you get to pick your playbook, and when you do, all the key information for that playbook will auto-populate. So let's say you want to play a spider. Then you can see the Devious Mastermind has updated the appropriate starting dots, friends and rivals, load, special abilities, XP triggers, etc. Everything is going to load. And if you change your mind and you want to switch to Hound, as long as you haven't changed your dots, everything will update accordingly. Your stress tracker is right here. All you got to do is come from the drop-down box to pick how many boxes you have ticked off. If you get a special ability that gives you extra stress, just update this box here for the number of extra stress boxes. When you do that, you'll notice this little red mark, which indicates, oh, you need to click a new drop-down because now you have an extra box that you're supposed to be able to display. And as you can see, there's an extra box, and we no longer have the red tick. Likewise, for trauma conditions, you start with 4 trauma conditions. That's why these are grayed out. But if you get a special ability that grants you a new trauma box, it shows up right there. You notice the color has changed to white so you can edit it. To select your action dots, just click the drop-down box and pick how many dots you want. You'll notice there's a formula in there. That's what grabs your initial starting dots for each action. Once you pick a number of dots, that'll be overwritten. So if you change your playbook later on, the starting dots won't update accordingly. You can likewise use these drop downs to update your coin and stash. The det is an example of one of many clocks we have in the game, just to indicate how many ticks are in the clock via the first box. In some cases, you can change the size of the clock with the second box, which I'll demonstrate more later. When it comes to harm, you have these boxes to record your harm, and as you do, whatever you type, there's a little bit of color coding that goes on. So I'll just use numbers to make our lives easier here. The deeper the red, the more severe the harm. And you'll notice that the nameplate has changed to match the most severe level of harm to make it more obvious to you and to the game master that you have this harm so that you can use the appropriate penalties and or invoke the harm for XP. Your recovery clock is tracked right here. Again, just indicate how many ticks. I use a geometric green clock for positive things, and I use red clocks for negative things, but you can change any of that if you like. Your standard load items all show up here. What you want to do is at the beginning of a score, pick your load level. Now, I should have pointed out that at the beginning of the campaign, you're sitting down with your game master and going to the session 0 tab to agree on what is the right rules you want to be playing by. And then when it comes to actually selecting if you want deep cuts or vanilla rules, your game master will update this cheat sheet. This cheat sheet gives you everything you need so you can quickly reference the rules, but more importantly, it's keeping track of which rules are vanilla and which rules are deep cuts. That's not just for your reference. The character sheet will update accordingly. If certain special abilities are affected because you decided to go for the deep cuts version of load, then the deep cuts version of load is what will show up in this drop-down box and in the relevant special abilities, and so on and so forth for everything else on the character sheet. So for now, let's just say we've decided to go with discrete load in deep cuts. When that happens, you can't carry heavy items, things that have a load of 2, and so they appear with a strike through. But if you were to go conspicuous, then you'll notice the strike throughs disappear. As you accumulate load, let's say you're going in and you use armor and then heavy armor and you take a large weapon, and oh my goodness, that's 7 load. So it's tracking your load for you out of your max. The max is determined by the level you've picked here. And if you go over, it turns inverted colors. And you'll also notice that your playbook inverts as well. This is to help you and the game master realize that you're encumbered so you can take the appropriate actions. So now let's undo that. And we can show you over here, you can keep track of consumables, bandolier items, recipes for things. Just a good spot for tracking that. But here's where you're really going to get excited is your special abilities, right? So the full details of all your special abilities appear right down here in this section, easy to scroll. At the beginning, you haven't selected any, but as you select them, let's say you selected Sharpshooter, and then later on you get Vengeful. The ones that you've selected move up into this section so you can quickly find the descriptions of the ones that you actually have selected. And if you want to use a veteran ability from a different playbook, you come over here to this section with the white drop-down boxes. Notice it says you can select veteran abilities from here. And all of the special abilities for all the playbooks appear here, sorted by the playbook name. And if you knew something about the name, like maybe you're like, I think it's like analyst or something. So I start typing it, and you can see that any special ability that has a match starts to appear. I'm like, oh yes, I wanted the leech analyst ability. As soon as you do that, the checkbox automatically checks, and it shows up for you here in the detailed description. And likewise, in the load and items, a feature we've just added is, we've got the name of the item, which is great for when you're just playing, but sometimes you want to remind yourself of like what is involved in arcane implements, for instance. And so you can now scroll down here, and the full description of all the items, say like arcane implements, is listed here for you. All you got to do is scroll down to reference it. And of course, you've got an area to take notes. And then lastly, we've got a built-in dice roller. If you need one, then you can just hit this roll button. The first time you do it, you'll be activating a script. You'll need to give that script permission, and then you'll need to click it again to roll. But then once you do, you'll be able to roll dice. Just type in the number of dice you want, hit the roll button, and then the dice will show up, and will also compute for you the final result of that roll. In this case, a 5 was the best roll. And all of the results are tracked on the roll log tab, as you can see here. And the last sections for you to notice is that this is a mirrored area from the GM tab. So the GM has a bunch of public-facing clocks. As they update them, the information is mirrored here, so you don't have to go over to look at their tab. You can pretty much find everything you need right here. Even the supply clocks from your crew tab are mirrored here. There's some scoundrel moves to help you remind you of things you can do and what the most important rules, most often cited rules are. This updates, again, based on which modules you're using as vanilla and which ones as deep cuts. If you're a new player, you might find a description of what all the actions are handy. And so we've got that over there on the far right. And the last section here is your XP. So all of your XP triggers are here to remind you, and you can just log your XP by taking advantage of these clocks. Just update the number of ticks, and it will work accordingly. And then you have your long-term projects here. Again, I like to use these geometric green clocks for positive things, but if you prefer the traditional Blades in the Dark style clocks, then this is a drop-down box, the size of the clock, and just pick a clock name that doesn't have a G at the end. So we'll go with a regular 8, and what you'll get is the circular with red filled in slices. And that gives you a full tutorial of this tab. It gives you everything you need. If you need access to descriptions on the crew tab or the GM tab, there are separate tutorial videos that you can access from the README First tab up here, up at the top. All right, I hope you found this helpful. And